At last year's E3, Capcom showed Resident Evil 7 for the first time, at least to the public. And what was shown was well, very questionable of what it was until, well, when you saw the name Resident Evil 7. And to be honest, I was excited for it, but I was also worried and questioning a number of things on how it would relate to the series and how would it even feel or even be a Resident Evil game. But to be fair, you can always ask yourself, well, what about 4 or 5 or 6 or even other games that didn't bear the number title? Were they at all anyway felt like a Resident Evil game or was really a Resident Evil game besides it kind of just tying in or just overall tying in to the narrative, to the lore and the characters, so on and so forth? Well, it's my review for Resident Evil 7. Hope you enjoy.
This is the place.
In Resident Evil 7, you play as Ethan Winters, a man who's on a quest to find his lost girlfriend or a strange wife or whatever she is. I don't remember exactly whether if she was his girlfriend or wife or whatever, fiance. Anywho, she's been missing for about 3 years, and you pretty much get information on her location. You find out she is in a plantation mansion, or at least location of sorts, that resides within the Baker family residence. And what is in this residence is, well, evil, to put it frankly. But what kind of evil is this, and why is this happening? Well, it's really up to you to find out exactly what's going on and how things turn out, which, to be honest, is and was, better yet, very interesting in my opinion.
Hey, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Now first you need to tell me what you're doing out here alone in the middle of the night.
Now, as far as the plot is concerned, was it good or was it bad? And I'll probably touch back on this later on in the review. Excuse me. I thought it was really good. I thought it was written well for the most part. It's pretty good plot in my opinion. Wasn't really blown away by a whole lot of things as far as like how it was being told and whatnot. It was interesting without question, in my opinion, and it really helped, especially when things did drag along a bit, but it kind of pulled itself back up here and there. But overall, I thought the plot, for the most part, was really good, and it was definitely interesting. So that is a good thing, at least. Now, as far as the gameplay is concerned, I found the gameplay to be good for what it was. Seemed like a standard, like first-person shooter type of gameplay for the most part, and it worked really well. Ethan's movement isn't as flexible, or even he just doesn't seem like a very fast guy. When you run, which seems almost like you're lightly jogging, or if anything, really you're probably just power walking. He's definitely not winning any marathon, that's for sure. But yeah, I thought the gameplay was pretty good, and the mechanics worked well. You get a good fair amount of weapons, though I would probably say that you don't get an insane amount of weapons. I don't think like it's gonna be like, I don't know, you're gonna get like it's like Borderlands type of thing or whatever. So, but I'm really just saying that for people who don't know what to expect with this type of game. But if you played any other Resident Evil game, excuse me, you would probably know that you're not gonna get like an insane amount of weapons at your disposal. And of course, like a lot of the other ones, you do get other ones as you progress along the way. Some of them, especially towards the end, so it's kind of like, alright, well, and have them. You really want to use those as much as you want to kind of get more acquainted with the new weapons, especially because when you get them, it's like, it's kind of almost over. And there are also times where you can get a weapon or weapons, better yet, and also a number of other items you can end up not using or just never getting for whatever reason. It's definitely very interesting. And on top of that, with the gameplay, it comes down with the bosses and how, or even just other encounters, you can end up missing number of things, so there's other optional ways of encountering these enemies and other ways of taking them out. A lot of other times you will pretty much take out enemies the same way as almost anyone else, but there's other times where there's a lot of optional and different things that end up happening that make the encounters a very interesting experience. It's one of those things basically that you will not always get the same experience and as the other player, and that's very true to this game. You could end up, example, it was footage that was shown all the way back where I was fighting Jack Baker, and what ended up happening is I found the car keys to get into the car, and I ended up driving the car, tried to run him over, though I don't think I did a very good job, but he eventually ended up getting into the car, and that type of stuff can happen. You can end up not even doing that, where he ends up getting into the car, and then basically that's all you really gotta know, is that there's a lot of different things that can end up happening. Now, of course, you have your puzzles and files you can read, backtracking, even though the puzzles weren't really that hard, and there weren't a whole lot of puzzles, but I thought it was alright. Wasn't really upset about that, but whatever. And there's all, again, like I said, backtracking, and then there's also files you can read. There's also these cassette tapes you can find, and there aren't a whole lot of them. Just so you know, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to go through a whole bunch of these cassette tapes and whatever, blah blah blah. No, you don't have to really worry about that. But they're interesting. They're like little playable segments to kind of give you a backstory of things and so on and so forth. So some pretty interesting stuff, and of course the files give you backstory into things and so on and so forth. That fleshes things out a bit, which was cool. Now there is a lack of enemy variety, and some people might be bothered by that. Me, I kind of was, but at the same time I understand why it was like that, but at the same time I kind of wish there was more enemy variety, but whatever. Anywho, the enemies you do encounter, as you probably saw before, were the molded, and then there's also these big fat things. I don't know if they're all the molded, kind of, but whatever. But anyway, yeah, there's different variations of the molded, but they just don't really get your hopes up that much, but they'll be kind of surprising, especially when they pop up at you or you just see them out of nowhere. So, the game is scary. That's very important about this game. The game is very scary. However, the survival aspect, it is still there, but you can easily just manage your items very well. I don't know, I guess for me personally, the survival aspect wasn't really that difficult in my opinion, but whatever. Now, as far as the visuals are concerned, I thought the visuals looked really good, though when you kind of get up close to things, and you definitely will a lot, it definitely looks kind of like blurry, like low textures, and so on and so forth type of thing. But when you're not doing things like that, it definitely does look good. But yeah, the visuals can get a little bit of improvement, at least for the next game or whatever. And as far as the music is concerned, I thought it was really good. It was finally had some, been a while since you kind of hear some really good, memorable, tracks. And it does blend it well with that, the ambient noises, the atmosphere, and also there's times where it is silent. So I wouldn't say overall you're hearing music all the time, almost all the time. But yeah, it was pretty good. And the voice acting was pretty good as well. So... And when it comes down to the whole comparison to, Outlast, Amnesia, the PT demo, / Silent Hills, where good chance that a lot of the stuff in that PT demo was not going to be in the final game, if it ever did come out. Unfortunately, it didn't. But anyway, this game is not like those games. The only thing it really just bears with it is that it is first person. If anything, it seems this is probably a game that a lot of indie devs can probably take a lot of influence from, instead of just copy and pasting the whole hide and seek formula, because you really aren't doing that, and you can obviously see through the gameplay here. And also, if you bothered to play the game or even seen anything of the game, you would probably know that it's not like those other games. So it's a Resident Evil game. I mean, for the most part. But basically what I'm trying to say, it is a good game, but it is flawed in some ways. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a perfect game by any means, but I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a really good game, and I think it's worth checking out, unless you're kind of iffy about the price tag, and though there isn't a whole lot of end-game content unless you want to get the DLC, but that's really up to you. Me personally, I'll wait until I find something that really interests me. But anyway, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you for watching, and until next time.